For Unit 28, Assignment 2, you need to show 1 page of hand-coded HTML CSS. So today we are going to look at doing that. There's plenty of development software out there that we could use. I'm keeping it simple. I'm using Notepad++. It's free to download. It covers a load of different languages. And for coding HTML, CSS, it's a nice, simple working environment. You can, if you want to, use Visual Studio to code the HTML, CSS, if you've got that. One piece of software I would say don't use is Adobe Dreamweaver, because it's crap, basically. Just don't use it. Just don't. Right. That said, Notepad++. This is Notepad++. Couple of things you want to do for setting up. Firstly, select the language. So go to Language, go to H, and select HTML. Fairly straightforward. The other thing that you want to do is turn on the word wrap. If you don't turn on word wrap, you end up with a massive scrolly thing going across the screen that disappears off the screen when you've got a large amount of text. It doesn't automatically do what Word does, and when you hit the end of the page, go to the next line. You have to turn that on by turning on the word wrap. Turn on the word wrap. Definitely turn on the word wrap. It is right there, right that button where my mouse is hovering. Right, so that's the setup. Save your page. So once you get a new document, file, you'll be able to go file, save. Because I've already saved it, I've got to go file, save as. I would suggest keeping it somewhere like a Unit 28 folder. Sample HTML page.html, type that in. And that will save it. And what you will actually see when you go into the file system is it will have a little browser window just sitting there. To see what you're doing on the website, just double click it. You won't see anything at the moment because we've not even got the basic code in there to tell it that it's a website yet. Well, to tell the browser that it's a website yet. But all you need to do when we make changes and we add stuff is hit the refresh button. You don't need to reopen the file 9 million times. Just go to your browser and hit the refresh button. You can do it through run and press run if you really want to, but use the refresh button. Seriously, do it. So that's that bit. So let's get on to actually coding some of the HTML. Now, technically, HTML isn't a coding language, it's a scripting language. Because it's not a high-level code, you don't create programs in it, you create web pages. But for the purposes of going forward, and the purposes of not confusing myself and or you guys, we are going to code the HTML. And the very first thing that we need to do is tell the browser what kind of document it is looking at. So, in order to do this, we start off. Any code for the HTML sits in a pair of angle brackets. They are the ones that look like crocodiles or greater than and less than signs. In this case, they are angle brackets. So angle bracket, and then it's quite simple. Exclamation mark, doc type, document type, HTML, because it's a HTML document. Nice, straightforward. The document type is HTML. One thing you will find with HTML and CSS is that a lot of what you do is very closely related to plain English. So if we want to change the background color, for example, the bit of code that we put in to control the background color is bg-color. It's fairly straightforward. So now we've told it what document type we're working in, and we've told that we're working in HTML. Our next step is to actually tell the browser that the HTML code starts at this point and finishes at the next point down. So this is where we have a HTML tag. Literally, HTML. Go down a few lines. There's a reason for that, I'll tell you in a minute. And then we need to close the HTML tag. So we're telling the browser that the HTML stops here. So we tell it that it's stopped by putting a /. So angle bracket / HTML. And that says the HTML code starts here and ends here. Everything else goes in between the HTML tags. It's something that we call nesting. So any tags that contain instructions that fit inside another tag needs to be closed inside the tag that it's sitting in. Hopefully this will become a bit more clear as we go along. Now that we've told it that we're looking at HTML, we need to tell our browser even, what HTML we want it to process. A web page is actually split into two sections. The bit that's displayed in the browser and the bits that aren't displayed in the browser. The bit that isn't displayed goes first at the top of the page. Because it's at the top, like we would have a header maybe in Word, we have a head tag. It's at the top, roughly the same place of where your head is in your body, or on your body rather. And we close the head tag so that the browser then knows that everything contained within the opening head tag and the closing head tag with its / is to be read only by the browser and not displayed on the page. Then we have the main body of the web page, the thing that people view. Now, because HTML is nice and simple, in order to display the body or to instruct our browser that we are now on the body of the web page, we use body. And then to tell it that we've got to the end of the body section, we close the body tag. So nice, straightforward. Now we're not going to spend a massive amount of time looking at tags that usually go in the header tag, or in the head tag, sorry. Because when it comes to our actual page, we'll be able to set that up using the WYSIWYG or CMS systems. Remembering that a WYSIWYG system is what you see is what you get, and a CMS is a content management system. So WordPress, Weebly, Wix. Most of them, the main site that you build will be built on one of those, unless you want to challenge yourself and build all the pages in HTML and CSS, at which point I'm not going to stop you, go ahead. So we're only going to look at one tag in this title tag, in this head tag even, and that is the title tag. So there is our title. And usually we would put web page name, the name of the web page in there. Now you can create this web page on any topic that you like. It does not need to relate to your game. It is an example web page to show that you can code HTML and CSS. Try and use something a bit more interesting and creative than web page name, please. So I'm going to save that, Control S as your keyboard shortcut, and I'm going to flip back to Chrome, and I'm just going to refresh that, and now we have web page name up in the tab. The title of the web page is what is displayed in the tabs of the browser. So mine says web page name, yours will say hopefully something a bit more interesting. Now, the rest of the tags that we have in the head tag are more for search engines and indexing your sites on search engines. If you are doing your website hand-coded, please email me and let me know. That instruction is for the people from BCM 030B at Hertford Regional College only, please. And I will go through the tags that control the search engine indexing with people from 030B via email. I'm not expecting many people doing that. I'm expecting most people using Wix, Weebly, or WordPress. So now we've got our title in there. We're leaving that section. Let's get on to looking at putting content in. Now, when we're talking about things, or when we're building a website, we usually want some kind of header so that we know what the page is actually about. Now, there are 6 different preset headers that we can use that are predefined in the HTML as the browser knows to read it. We can control how this looks ourselves, and we can overwrite what the browser will do, but we're going to do that separately, and we're not going to control that with the HTML. We're going to control that with CSS later on. The first and the largest header tag that we have is a H for header and a 1. You can put all of this inside a header tag, which increases the readability of the code, because people then know that the code that sits within the header tag is for the header of the website. It's better practice than doing it this way, but ultimately for Unit 28, I'm not too worried about whether or not you have the new header tags and such like for the HTML, CSS new versions that we're using. So we're coding in HTML5 and we're coding in CSS3, or we will be coding in CSS3. So H1, header 1, and this will be the main website name. And then we close the H1 tag. So if I now save that and we refresh that, now we have something on our website. That's that bit covered. Now, thing with HTML, CSS, we lay it out with returns. We should also lay it out indented if we're doing it strictly following the readability rules. But one of the good things about HTML and CSS is it doesn't actually need to be formatted correctly to work. It's not case sensitive. So if you use a capital B in the body tag and a lower B in the closed body tag, it doesn't care. You don't have to put returns in. You don't have to put indents in. It's a very forgiving language, so long as you've got your angle brackets and you've got your open and closed tags. It can be a bit fussy about not having things in speech marks when we come to do some of the CSS. It can be a bit funny about where there are spaces with the equal signs, which again we will come to later on. However, when it comes to capitalization and indentation and doing new lines, it is quite forgiving. Even if you don't indent anything, I don't indent my website code. It's bad practice. I really should. But I've never indented my website code since I started designing websites and learning HTML when I was about 13. And to give you a hint, that was over 20 years ago. Old habits are very hard to break. So you should indent. You definitely should put it on new lines, especially given that I have to look at your code and see what it's supposed to be doing. But so long as it's on new lines, I'm fine. I'm not worried about the indentation. One other thing, HTML and CSS were written by Americans. American spellings. So no U in color, for example. If you put a U in color, it won't work. It will not make the change that you want it to make. Alright, let's get some more stuff on this page. So let's have an introductory paragraph of text. So a paragraph is the letter P. We also, at the end of our text, need to close the P tag. All of our text sits between the angle bracket after the P and before the forward slash. Now, I'm going to cheat, and for the purposes of demonstrating the website where I'm marking you on the HTML and the CSS, and not on the actual content, I'm going to actually cheat. It does have a reference to Wikipedia there, so that's fine, and I'm just going to copy and paste that in as an introductory paragraph. What does that look like? Well, funnily enough, it looks like a line of text. When we look at the CSS, it will turn into a couple of lines of text because it won't go across the page. But for the moment, we're building the bare bones of a site, not making it look pretty. Now, because I've used the paragraph text, the paragraph tag, I will get a decent break when I put a new paragraph in. So, just to show you this, I'm going to go and probably nick some more information from here. Let's pick this bit, and we'll just paste that in there. Save it, and to show you what I mean, there is a refresh. So I've got essentially what in Word would be an enter gap with no line spacing. We might not want that though. We might want it just to go straight down to the next line underneath. And what we need to do for that one is we need to put in what is called a break. And we use a break tag for that. I'd say a good 90% of HTML tags have an open and a closing tag. There are some exceptions. The break tag is one of them. Because we don't need to include anything in it, it's a little self-contained instruction, we close the tag in the tag itself. So there's my opening crocodile. I'm working down where my mouse is circling. BR for break, space, /, close the tag, and close the angle bracket. It's a little self-contained instruction. So if I save that now, and we go back, I refresh the page, now that last sentence is on its own line directly underneath the line that we've just moved it from. So that's laying out of content. Now this page is a bit boring. It's all text. Let's make it look a bit prettier. And let's put a picture in. There is the picture. Oh, there's a paragraph tag to put the picture in. Now this one may be a little bit more confusing than the tags we've looked at so far. But we are telling the browser that we want to put an image in, which is abbreviated to IMG. We want to tell it the source of the image, src. Notice I have not closed this tag yet. src for source equals 2 speech marks, then your closing angle bracket. So far, in fact I've missed a bit because the image tag is a self-contained tag, so we need to put the slash there. Now so far, what we've had have all been tags that we haven't set any variables in. Our image tag, we need to tell it what the source URL of the image is. Now that is not the website. It's not a case of you click there and you copy and paste that. If I want this picture, I'm going to need to go to the picture and right click, and if you're using Chrome, copy image address, and that will copy the source link of the pictures. So I can paste that in there, and that will take me so I just have the picture. So back to Notepad++, and let's paste that in there. Let's save that, because we want to keep a check on how this is working, how it's looking, making sure we're not making mistakes as we go. And there is my picture. Okay, so we've got a bit of text, bit of picture. Now we need to look at some different bits of code. So one thing that we don't have in here is any kind of navigation. We have no links to anywhere. So I'm going to show you how to set up links. I would like you to set up more than one link, but I'm going to start off by setting up a link to this Wikipedia. So let's copy that, and we'll put this on the Wikipedia page. And I'm going to put it underneath my header and underneath this first paragraph. There's a reason for that, and that has to do with how we lay out the site when we're using the CSS. So, starting with paragraph, open and closing tag. Pressing the shift key is always a good idea. And then in the middle of this, this is where we are going to put our link. Now the link tag is one of the definitely not so straightforward tags in HTML, because you would expect it to say link. It doesn't. It does not say link in this tag. It's actually an A that we use. So open angle bracket, and to make this a bit easier for you guys to see, I'm going to just put this on a new line. You don't need to put this on a new line. you can leave it all on the same line, the same as we've just done for the text and the image. So, A, to create an anchor link, and then we need to tell it where to look. So a href equals speech marks. Anything after an equal should go in speech marks. So a hyperlink reference equals, and then the web page that you want it to go to. Closing angle bracket. I'm going to put Wikipedia page in there. And then I'm going to close the anchor tag. I'm going to close the A tag for the link. And I've already closed the P tag because I did that before I set up the A tag. And we can just put that so it's all set up as one paragraph with the open and close tags. Notice how when I've done the image and I've done the link, they are both sat within the paragraph tab. I could then put a spacebar in and add in a second link into this. So a href. You don't want spaces there where I've just put that space. There's that bit. And let's just go and find something that's not Wikipedia. There we go, RSPCA, why not? So let's copy that link and stick it between the speech marks. And this is the RSPCA guide to old horse care. There we go, that's a very long link name. And close our link tag. And we can add as many links as we want going across like that. Excuse me. So I've saved that now, and we actually go back to our web page and refresh that. There's my links sitting up there. One last bit of basic code that we're going to put into this is we're going to put in a table. This is where I recommend separating your P tags out. Tables are a lot more complicated than building up any kind of any of the rest of the code, because we need to tell it to split our table up in a certain way. The first thing that we need, though, is we need to tell the browser that we are making a table. And fairly straightforward, table and closing table tags. So there is our closing table tags. Once we've got the browser told that we're doing a table, we then need to split the table up into rows. And that is a table row tag. I'm leaving a gap for a reason. Close the table row, and if we want 2 rows, we need 2 open and close PR tags. So there's our table rows. I've got 2 rows now in this table. You might want to do 3 rows so that you've got a header for your table. But every time you want to set a new row up, you need to have it enclosed in these TR tags to tell the browser that it is a row and not a continuation going across the page. Then we need to break the table up, into columns. The tag for the columns is a TD tag. The number of TD tags you have tells you the number of columns. So TD, close the TD tag, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to have, I don't know, let's have 2 columns in each table, in each row, sorry, not table. Now that we've got the TD tags in there, we can start inputting. I have no idea why I just alt-tabbed through all that stuff. I do apologise. I do that on occasion. We're now good to input the information. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to put breed. And I'm going to put, I don't know, average height in that one. And then underneath that one, I'm going to put in, let's put in the Shire, because why not? And the average height of a Shire is about 18 hands high. For anyone who doesn't know what a hand is, it is a measurement of 4 inches. It is not used very often. You probably will never see it again. However, if you take 18 hands high, divide it by 4, no, multiply it by 4, sorry, divide it by 12, you'll find out how many feet 18 hands high is. There we go, embedded maths. Let's save this now. Let's go back to here and let's refresh. So there is my table down the bottom. Doesn't look very good at the minute, but I'm not too concerned about that. Now we have the main basic building blocks of the website. It doesn't look pretty, but it does have information. And in the next video, we will look at how we make this pretty using what we call CSS, also known as cascading style sheets.